build, give us hope, bring us joy. Thank you for blessing their decisions, the city staff, administration, all that makes this place what it is. Thank you for the citizens and them making their best effort once again to give thanks and give praise to whom honor is due, and that's you, Lord. Thank you for this time tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Would I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Robert, second by Maher to approve the adoption of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go to general public comment. This is time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I do have a few general public comments, and then we also have some more specific items later in the agenda. But for general public comments, just a reminder, you have 3 minutes. We ask that you provide your comments with decorum and order. And we also have a 3-minute countdown up here. And what I'll do is I'll call out a name, and I'll also call out the name for the person following them so that we get a timely rotation, because I know the chambers are quite full here today. So first up, we will have Rob Momarts, followed by Adrian Epp. So Rob will begin, and Adrian, if you could be on standby ready to go, that'd be great.
Good evening. As all of you know, I'm Robert Momarts. I came here tonight to speak to you about something that was discussed in that press release a couple weeks ago about community responsibility. I want to bring this back to something that was discussed previously about how the homeless population are being asked to basically pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. Well, on a basic fundamental human level, yeah, we can survive on our own for a limited amount of time without help, but therein lies that whole community aspect. We've gathered together as a civilization to support each other, not to exile each other, not to banish each other, because we're civilized. We are a community that supports one another, not exiles, banishes, outcasts, people who aren't fit for social standards, aren't fit to do common tasks. We've all joined together to support each other. Each of us has a value, whether everybody can see it or not. Obviously, I'm very limited at what I can see. That being said, what is the responsibility of our community? And how far does that fall before it becomes the city's responsibility? How far does that fall before it becomes the county's responsibility, the state's? Before this becomes a state of emergency. So, again, if it's a community responsibility, well, if you shorten community, that means city. I don't know necessarily the etymology of it, but I do know that the term city comes from community. Community comes from the term common unity. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Momarts. Next, Ms. Adrian Epp, followed by Roberta Harmon.
Well, you all know me by now. I'm the annoying urbanist, but unfortunately I wasn't able to spend time to fully collect my thoughts this week about what I wanted to say, but I'm happy to know that there are some city councilors that want infill development. They understand that our city, the way that it has been structured, the way that it sprawls, in a very sparse way isn't sustainable. In fact, if you took all $250 million of the city budget, you would not be able to repair all of the roads that need to be repaired. There's not enough money. And yet we continue to sprawl. So there is an understanding that we do need to have infill development. We need to increase density so that we can actually take on the maintenance cost of our roads, which should be supporting a city of at least probably 1 million and not something approaching 100,000. It's just ridiculous. There are some things that you need to do to get to this point so that you can have infill development. You need to start looking at eliminating parking minimum requirements. There are cities all across America that have been working towards eliminating them. Some very large cities have been doing that, such as like Minneapolis, Buffalo. There, I believe Nashville as well. There are cities all across the nation that have been eliminating parking minimum requirements. I've looked at the city's parking minimums. They're ridiculous. They're just strictly ridiculous. There's probably more parking spaces in this town than there are people living here. And in many cases, they only fill up one day a year, completely fill up one day a year, and that's going to be the day coming up, Black Friday. So we really need to address the ridiculousness of our parking minimums. What was the other thing? I had another thought, but it's left me, so I'll just leave you with that.
All right. Next, Roberta Harmon, followed by Mark Millar, or Mark Millar. Excuse me.
Good evening. I didn't want to come tonight. I wanted to stay home and have a hot bath and be comfortable with this chilly weather coming in. But the church service that I went to last night said that we should have a battlefield mentality and that there are no bench warmers. Tonight I would like to share with you a letter that was drafted November 8th, 2023. It states, Wilmer Kills Warrior, 615 Kansas City Street, Rapid City, South Dakota. Dear applicant, this is to notify you that pending final approval of your application, an appropriate sized dwelling will soon be available for you. It will be necessary for you to contact Jennifer at 605-394-5350 no later than November 23rd, 2023 to get important details. Upon approval and after viewing the unit, you will have 2 days to accept or refuse. You will have 5 days from accepting the unit to pay the security deposit. You will have 14 days from accepting the units once it is ready to sign the lease. Please note that this is not a formal offer for housing. If we do not hear from you by the above date, your application may be removed from all of our waiting lists. Sincerely, Pennington County Housing and Redevelopment Commission, Jennifer Fitz, Property Manager. They will not be hearing from Wilmer Kills Warrior. He died face down in his own vomit in Sioux Park, July 21st, 2021 in Rapid City, South Dakota. They will remove his name from the list. He was my friend, and I do not want him forgotten. And he had a rough ride of it. And as our city moves forward, with all of the directions in homelessness and all of the comments that come up here, I believe we have to do something different for folks like my friend. I am sad that his name will no longer be on any housing lists. But I believe that we can be radical Rapid City and lead with love. And love doesn't mean accepting lots of things that are intolerable. That's not what it means. And there are a lot of cities out there that other folks are talking about, and some of those examples we don't want to follow. Just check the news. I want us to know our neighbor, and I want us to love our neighbor in Rapid City, South Dakota.
Thank you. Next, Mark Millar, and that'll be the end of the general public comment. We'll have other comments here shortly. And sir, feel free to correct if it was Miller or Millar. I apologize.
It's Millar.
Okay, very well. Thank you.
I'm sorry my cause is pretty insignificant. I'm here to bitch about how you bill for the water department. Recently you shut my water off. My home, we've changed how we're gonna be handling our billing, and we missed a month of paying our bill. You left a tag on my door telling me that I needed to contact your office for late fee. I called your office. They told me that I was in fact late. My water had been shut off, and I'd have to pay a $50 fee to get it reconnected. So that door tag had hung on my door for about 10 minutes because I had left the home to go to Lowe's. So I ran right on down to City Hall and I paid that bill. Told them the door tag had been hanging on my tag, that they'd shut me off, that I was sorry, I'm disabled, I've been out of work and broke, and couldn't afford to pay the $50 reconnect fee, and left and did a lot of screaming. Told them I'd bring them their water meter, I'll bring them their garbage cans. My garbage cans were sitting down here in the lobby a couple of days ago because I brought them to you all. I can't afford a $50 reconnect fee. Your billing statement says that you give me 45 days to pay my bill from the billing date. Of course, in my case, the first 12 days of that 45 days, you held my bill. In reality, you came to my house on past due date 29, disconnected my water after being a faithful water user for 20 years. I've had 3 water services in my name for the last 5 years. I've had 2 water services in my name for the last 12 years. But I was 30 days late, and you're demanding a $50 reconnect fee. Now, to me, that sounds a lot like predatory billing. But it doesn't end there, because you weren't able to successfully turn my water off because you couldn't get the valve on the stem on my valve. You told me you did, and you told me you were charging me $50 to reconnect me. But 2 days later, when a clerk called to ask about all of my anger over the whole situation, I was informed that in fact you weren't able to turn my water off. But I would still have to pay the $50 reconnect fee because my name was on a list. Now, I understand that the city pays their water bills in windows of up to 90 days, possibly 120 days. I have commercial customers that pay me at 90 days out. 30 days in this day and age isn't hardly even a past due.
Mr. Millar, your 3 minutes is up. Sorry.
Thank you.
If you want to leave your contact information once again, we can have somebody reach out to you. Okay. That'll take us to the end of the general public comment, and we will now begin non-public hearing items 1 through 23, and we will begin public comment for items 1 through 23. I don't have any speaker request forms for those items, so we will close public comment for those items and move on to consent items. Consent items 1 through 23, with the council wish to remove any items from the consent items or vote on the remaining balance. Got a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Lehman to approve items 1 through 23. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the end of consent items, and now we will begin non-consent items 24 through 28, and we will open public comment for items 24 through 28. I do have a number of public comments for these items, and so once again, you'll have 3 minutes per item. We ask that you keep order and decorum with your comments, and we will begin with Chris Green.
Good evening. Speaking on items 24 and 25 in particular, and I left some documents on your table there. They were distributed to you. You know, document 1 is all about the impact on single-family homes, and I have a laser focus in this analysis on the water rates for those homes, and a secondary analysis on sewer rates for the homes. So basically, if those items are incorporated, we get another 5 years of double-digit increases both on water and sewer rates. On the water side, 10% per annum, sewer 12% per annum, which works out to this total increase from 2017 to 2028 of 145% on the water rates and 138% on sewer rates. There's a breakdown in document number 2. It kind of breaks it down. 52.09% was the first go-round, 60.89% on the second go-round on the water side, 35.38% on the first go-round on sewer, 76.23% on the second go-round. Third document is a AE2S document, which you guys have. And this was from 2022. And that particular document indicated that our water rates were the second highest in the state of South Dakota, only behind Yankton. And this is before this 5-year increase that we're looking at. And the only reason Yankton's higher is because they replaced a water treatment plant, $34 million water treatment plant in 2017. It bid in 2019. It was implemented. And what most water systems do is they implement basically a debt surcharge on the users rather than implement it in the base water rates. So there's a debt surcharge that'll go on for X number of years, and that's the real reason that Yankton's higher. And then there was a document that was either written by HDR or written by your Public Works Department, document 4. And this one is a year later, 2023, from AE2S. And basically, using the data on this one, we're no longer the second highest water rate in South Dakota. We're the third highest water rate in South Dakota. And again, this is before this 5-year increase. And we'll be basically the highest at the end of this. Keep in mind, this is a snapshot in time. You have no idea how much any of these are going to increase between point A and point B. But, you know, on here, you saw Brandon move way up. And again, that was a $12.7 million wastewater treatment plant in 2023, and they have a debt surcharge. So when you see those big spikes, that's not necessarily a permanent rate. That's more of a temporary rate increase. And this has a dramatic impact on basically everyone in the city. There's no way around base water rates that are astronomically high.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Rusty Schmidt.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Rusty Schmidt, General Manager for Rapid Valley Sanitary District. For some of you that ain't aware, we have about 12,000 in population, and we provide all the water and sewer from Sedivy Lane to Radar Hill Road over to Cheyenne Boulevard and south on South Valley Drive. The reason why I'm here tonight is we've been contracting with Rapid City for the last 50 years on wastewater treatment. I'm not here to refute or, or deny what the rate studies is and what is proposed. I'm sure it was done in due diligence. I'm here because recently contracts have changed with us where the district pays for 100% of wastewater treatment, which is understandable. That's what we contract with the city for the last 50 years. What is not understandable is recently we pay for 100% of collection of the wastewater. We have our own collection system. We manage O&M, operate our own system, our own lift stations. So I understand there should be a percentage of wastewater collection charges, but not 100%. So we have been paying these charges for the last 2 years in good faith efforts that when this new rate study comes out, that there would be a cost of service analysis that was specific to Rapid Valley Sanitary District, being we only contract you to treat our sewer. So I would just recommend and I would just ask that for this council, I mean, to look at renegotiating that and the public works staff as well with the Rapid Valley staff. Because some of the points is, you know, we've been wheeling sanitary sewer for Rapid City for 20 years at no charge through our system. So there should be definitely an offset there as well. The whole purpose of this topic is for bringing this forward on the wastewater. At these current rates, justifiable according to the rate study, that's fine. I'm not here to refute that. But I am here to state that the sanitary district at these current rates and within 4 years' time is what it's reflecting, it'd be more prudent for the sanitary district to build our own reclamation facility. So I just want to bring that forward. That is the direction we'll have to go. Basically off of the, you know, the establishment of that, you know, adding in the 100% cost of wastewater collection. You know, we should not be paying that 100% portion. It's understandable to pay 100% of the wastewater treatment. That is what we're contracting you for. So I'd like for that contract for us to revisit it. And I've talked to Public Works and we are discussing that, but I need to bring it before the council to you know, establish what our concern is. So being this is billed under a regional wastewater system, I'd hate to see that we have to go the direction of our own wastewater
Rusty, your
treatment, but
time.
we can.
3 minutes
So,
up. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next, Susie Kloffenstein. And that'll be followed by Brian Peck.
I'm really nervous. Just, okay. So I'm Susie Kloppenstein. So first of all, I want to thank all you for serving our community. We really appreciate you and we pray for you. I'm here for the Hope Center. I've been volunteering at the Hope Center for 4 years. I'm not sure if our community fully understands the scope of everything that we do. But I could sum up the core of what we do at the Hope Center in one word, and that's relationship. To my knowledge, no one in Rapid City does relationship as well as we do. And through those relationships, people find hope for the future. Sure, we provide services, phone, computer, and laundry services. But what people don't know is we are honored and privileged to be in relationship with our guests. We are blessed to pray with them on a daily basis. We take them to Ayate, to appointments, to urgent care, to the pharmacy. We take them to DSS and Social Security. We take them to eye appointments and behavior management. We encourage them when they're in treatment. We go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and Al-Anon meetings. And we attend their baptisms, their wakes, and their funerals. And we sit with them in all of these places. And we talk and we build relationships with them. We know their stories. We know their lives. We know their families. Why don't we just drop them off? Because they wouldn't go if we didn't stay. And because addiction and mental health issues are complicated. Research shows that the longer an individual is homeless and dealing with addiction or mental health issues, the more impaired their reasoning, problem solving, and critical thinking skills are. Doing anything beyond the basics of everyday life becomes too hard. They need someone to help walk that path of healing. Hope and healing must begin with relationship, knowing that you're loved, knowing that you're valued, knowing that your life means something to someone. Any of us would give our lives for any of our Hope Center family. And I have no doubt that they would give their life for me. So this is what I believe sets the Hope Center apart from all the other resources in Rapid City. My prayer is that you see the value in what we do and that you'll partner with us to continue sharing the hope and the love of Jesus.
Thank you. Next, Brian Peck, followed by Eileen Desmond.
I've been trying to be an observer and problem solver, and I've been watching the Hope Centers. Hope Center is an amazing place. The love that is offered there is truly amazing. Really hate to see that lost, but I also understand. I've talked to Vicki and a number of people about, what can we do? The Hope Center has bought a building. They own the building. How do we have the freedom to use that building in Rapid City? How we use it is there's a number of rules that we have to follow. It can't be a mission, but it could be possibly we need mail service. So could it be a UPS store? Could it be a laundromat? Could it be a bicycle shop? It could be broken up into individual retail spaces to serve the number of different things that the Hope Center now does. Could be done in private businesses to take care of the issues and the needs that are obviously there. The building is there. We just need to follow the rules that have been set up for that particular location. So I'm excited. Melanie's done such an awesome job of training her people that there are people there that are capable of running their own business and desire to do so. The problem now at this point, saying that we want to move ahead with something along that line, is funding. So I just would ask people that are listening that care about the Hope Center, care about the needs that are there, caring about the needs and caring about, if the cold is an awful place to live, and we're going to lose 20, maybe 30 people this year that are living on the street, and that's heartbreaking. And what is a life worth? I don't know. But we need funding, and so I just asked for who might be listening or whoever to contact Melanie or whoever possibly to provide funding for what we hopefully can move forward with. Just thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. Next, Eileen Desmond, followed by Kurt Napper.
Thank you. I'm Eileen Desmond. As you know, one of the many necessary functions the Hope Center provides is a mailing address for the unhoused. If the Hope Center is not allowed to relocate and continue as before, there's another issue caused by mail services no longer available to our unhoused people. Awate Health provides health care coverage for anyone with tribal enrollment who resides in Pennington County. To prove residency in Pennington County, Awate Health requires each enrollee to have a mailing address and not a post office box. The Hope Center verifies each enrollee as using their services, and Awate Health acknowledges the Hope Center as a valid address. At times, Awate Health will send a letter to an enrollee regarding a referral. If the enrollee does not respond to the letter, or if the mail is returned, the referral is denied, service is denied. They're no longer a Pennington County resident. They must have proof of Pennington County residency via a valid mailing address. As you know, having cost-effective, quality health care available to our unhoused is important. Without the Hope Center, the city must provide a valid mailing address for all the unhoused for many reasons, but especially for health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Kurt Napper. And that'll be followed by all I have is the name of Xavier.
I'm also here on the Hope Center. I come from a different spectrum. I am a person that uses that facility. I've lived in Rapid City for 15 years, and I've been homeless or houseless, I prefer to say, for 13 of that years. I worked for the same 2 companies for the whole time I worked in Rapid City, 2 mow companies. I mowed the schools from Black Hawk to the Valley. And, sorry. Closing this down, there's things that I'm not going to be able to provide. Clean clothes. Yes, I work, and it's nice to go there to do my laundry and stuff, you know. Not every homeless person is out there drunk on the street. Some of us find a nice little tucked corner of a wood, and that's where we stay all summer. This is what the Hope Center means to me. It means that there's a place I can go. I can feel loved. I can feel cared for. I could even feel wanted. I walk down the streets in Rapid City, I don't feel wanted. People look at me like, oh, here comes another one of them homeless guys. They're going to ask me for money. No, I don't need your money. But what the biggest part is, all this group right here are my family. I don't have no family. My dad's gone, my mom's gone, I have no brothers or sisters, just friends and family that I made there. You know, and it hurts me. This year I'm not even going to get a Christmas card from anybody because I have nowhere to send it. I joked today at the Hope Center. I try to lighten things with jokes so it don't seem like such a big task for me. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just send it to the mayor today, that year, you know, and I'll just go there and pick it up. And I was just playing. I won't send you one. Maybe I'll send you one.
I get a lot of mail.
But not
That's
me.
right.
But you know, there's good things and there are bad things, and I'm speaking for the ones that can't get up off the ground right now. I'm down there. I don't drink. You know, and till you've breathe life into your friend because he's in a seizure, you won't know what it feels like. I sat on a bike trail waiting for the ambulance while my friend turned purple. I breathed in, I cried like a little girl. And that hurt. But you know what? When they asked that man what he wanted to go to the safe bed, I said, no, he don't want to go to safe bed. He wants to go to detox for 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Napper. Xavier has passed on his time, so all I have left is Hawk. Is there a Hawk in the room? That's all I have. You probably know your time's going, okay? I am going to ask her, do you plan to speak? You do have to
Yes.
speak if you're going to speak.
I do.
Okay, go ahead and get going,
I
please.
just speak. I have my 3 minutes and I'm just taking my time. I want to thank you guys, the council. I want to thank you guys for the decisions that you've made, which they're tough decisions. They're tough decisions that you guys are making. And people's lives are on the line. And that's on your shoulders. And I commend you for taking that burden. And I also, there's truth in everything, and the truth for you guys denying the Hope Center is that it's bringing the community together. And this is not an easy burden to carry because everybody's carrying it in one way, shape, or form. And I mean, your Lord and Savior, I think you prayed. He said it himself. He said, pick up your own cross and follow me. He didn't say, hey, I'm going to do it for you. Don't worry about it. He said, no, pick up your own cross and follow me. And I'm very proud of, I have so much love for everybody. And for those of you that have loved your neighbor no matter what, and all the weight is not on y'all's shoulders. It's on everyone's shoulders. When you walk and you see someone that's in need, it's in my shoulders. It's in our shoulders every day, no matter what happens. And I love you guys, and I thank all of you that have taken on that burden and are carrying your cross.
Thank you. Next up, we have Shauna Bezio. I hope I pronounced that. Shauna Bezio. Bezio.
Mayor, I'm not
Roger, do you want to begin for the group? Speak for them? Okay. Roger Tillinghausen, he's their attorney for Loaf and Jug.
Thank you.
Item 26.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Roger Tillinghausen, I'm an attorney here in Rapid City, and I'm just appearing on behalf of Loaf and Jug. We weren't here at your meeting on November 6th when the decision was made to not renew their off-sale license as part of the group of off-sale licenses that were approved that night. It was pulled for this meeting, and I'm kind of working a little bit from hearsay, I guess, in terms of what the questions are, what the concerns are. So I'm going to do my best to address some of those. And then at the opportune time, if I could be asked specific questions, I have some folks here, Shauna and Cal Ostert, the district and regional managers for Loaf and Jug, that I'm sure they would be willing to try and answer for you as well. The thing I want to, I think, just put out there is that with regards to this particular off-sale license, there haven't been any violations at this location. Now, I understand that part of the concern has been brought by some of the neighbors and what may go on over in Wilson Park, which is adjacent to the Loaf and Jug. But my question to you is this: when it comes to a license like this or a business like this, at what point does the business assume the responsibility for what the customers who legally purchase their product and leave the premises do with that product? All of their employees are trained, the ones that are allowed to sell alcohol. All of the hard alcohol is kept behind the counter. So the only thing that's available to patrons when they come in is to go to a cooler and buy beer. And there's licenses all up and down 8th Street. You know, there's a large grocery store 4 blocks down the street that also has an off-sale license. And their license, by the way, you go in and self-serve yourself and take it to the counter. 2 blocks to the north is a pharmacy, also has an off-sale license, and the bottles are out in the open. Now, I'm not throwing stones at those businesses. Please understand, I'm not doing that. But what I'm trying to ask you is, how do you differentiate between this business operating legally and without violation from those businesses which are just a couple blocks apart? How do you know that the people that are creating the concern in Wilson Park actually purchased the product at Loaf and Jug? We don't know that. So with that, gentlemen, I'd be happy to try and answer questions. I know that Cal Ostert and Shauna Bezio would also answer questions. We'd ask you to renew the license. We believe we're a good commercial business, corporate business in this community, and we would look forward to having the opportunity to continue serving our patrons. who not only buy some alcohol, they buy a lot of other stuff in our store too.
Okay,
So
your
with
3
that-
minutes is up.
Oh, thank
sir.
you, I'm sorry.
Yep. Mr. Oster, did you want to speak to it? Okay. Well, that'll take us to the end of the comment period. Excuse me. And we'll close public comment for non-consent items 24 through 28. And we will begin with item 24. A first reading of ordinance number 6596, an ordinance to revise the rates charged by the city's water utility by amending section 13.08.400 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. And Mr. Roberts, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to move this to the next council meeting and also have it stop again at Public Works and Legal Finance. If I can get a second.
Got a motion by Roberts to continue to the next Public Works and Legal and Finance meeting. Second by Roseland. Okay. All right. No other speakers in the queue. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, item 25, a resolution to amend rates to be charged in 2024 through 2028 for water and water reclamation utilities. Mr. Roberts, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make the same motion, but I'd like to hold the floor for just a minute so I can speak afterwards, if I can get a second.
Okay, we got a motion to continue, I assume, to the next Public Works, Legal and Finance meeting.
Yes. Yep.
And a second by Lehman, and you have the floor.
So one of the reasons I want to do that is because I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked about this, and I don't think 5 minutes is going to be enough to answer all of those questions, at least for me. So that's the reason I want it to go back to Public Works. And I'm hoping that at least for the Public Works meeting, which will be a week from Tuesday, that Rusty can come, because I've got a lot of questions for you. And I'm hoping maybe I can just ask you a couple since you're here. Can you get up to the podium, please? So first I want to start out with, saying that I do agree with you, and I want more information not only from our staff, but looking at some of the contracts we've had in the past with you, that you shouldn't be paying all that, because you still have your cost for your sewer pipes, your lift stations, so your clients will be basically being double dipped on the sewer side.
Well, that's correct. I mean, we wholly understand on the wastewater treatment, because that's, as I mentioned, is what we contract with you for the last 50 years. On the wastewater collection, we do own and operate our own collection, our own lift stations. And then, of course, we have the connections to the last 2 or 3% of your collection system to discharge that to your 42-inch and your 27-inch via to be treated. So,
yes, and I know that there's places, because you sit within some of our boundaries. So I know there's places where our sewer goes through your pipes and then is discharged.
Yeah, that is correct. The Valley View schools, the apartment buildings on Homestead Street, all of that flows through our collection system for, I believe, 2004 was when the Valley View school was established. So.
And you've never charged the city for us using your pipes?
No, we never have. In our current contract under Section 15, we can charge a wheeling fee to the city, but I would prefer that we collaborate with each other and not, if you have charges on this and we charge back to offset it, it'd just be better if we could work collaboratively regionally.
That would be wonderful. And, I've been talking for years about regional utility compacts. I think sewer is a big issue. It's going to be a big issue going into the future because of all the growth around the area. And we know that, there's going to be a point in the very near future that we probably have to expand our treatment services. My question on the sewer side here, because I still have some questions about water, but on the sewer side here, is how many users currently do you have that are using our plant to have their sewer treated?
We currently have right at 5,000 accounts in our system. Let's just say a little over 12,000 people. And then probably 1,000 to 1,500, it's a rough estimate here, of those homes are actually within the municipality boundaries, but they're still within the sanitary district boundaries, so.
Okay. So, you know, and I think these are a lot of questions that, as a council, most of us probably never had the opportunity to ask or even thought about. But I think that, you know, it's very important for us to be good neighbors with the municipalities around us and the ones that aren't incorporated around us.
Right.
But I think that that's where the regional, you know, regionally, I think these utilities is going to be the way to go in the future. I think it's the only way that we're going to be able to hold down the costs on all of this. So that being said, I don't know if you saw anything that we got here, but on there it said that your water rates are higher than the city of Rapid City. Is that true?
Our per thousand charge, you know, our per thousand charge is currently $4.50 per thousand. What we proposed to pass this year, the committee or the board of trustees, is a 3%, so it's go to $4.63 per 1,000 gallons. We do have $20.24 minimum charge. But then after that, we also provide the services of fixing your service line at no cost if it breaks underground, as well as your sanitary sewer line from the main to the property line. If it's a collapse or a separation, we'll fix that as well once it's cambered at no cost to the homeowner. We realize it's to have come up with $2,000 to $5,000 per homeowner is just not equitable. So the sanitary district provides that service. So at the current rates, Rapid City's current rates and our current rates, once you get over about right at 4,500 to 5,000 gallons, no, we're cheaper than you. Under that, we are slightly higher, but you know, going off of what the current rate structure is proposed to be, no, you'll be considerably higher. Then the other thing, you guys have a tier structure. After 7,500 gallons, you go up from there. We have one tier structure, which the Board of Trustees just changed last year, and that's after 20,000 gallons. We have the next higher rate, which would be $4.90, right at $4.95 per thousand. So,
Mr. Roberts, your time's up.
That's why we need to bring this back.
Yep.
Anyway, I hope you can come a week from tomorrow to the Public Works meeting, Rusty.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any council members? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
If you remember, we're continuing this item. Is that it? I didn't get a really hearty aye. All in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Item 26. Renew the package liquor license for PL 4773 for Mini Mart Inc., doing business as Loaf and Jug for number 444 at 1627 Mount Rushmore Road. This item was continued from the November 6, 2023 City Council meeting.
Motion to renew.
Got a motion to renew by Roberts and a second by Lehman, and we will go to Rod Pettigrew.
Thank you, Mayor Solomon. Mr. Tallyhughes, and I'm the one who pulled this from the consent calendar. And be honest with you, knowing it's going to fail. But I would like to address Loaf and Jug's practices. I've lived in that neighborhood for 40 plus years, and I do not know how long your store has had a liquor license in that location. I'm going to assume that 40 years ago it was still a convenience store, but maybe they just had a beer license. I don't know that. I've talked to the city attorney's office, and they can't provide that information. I used to take my girls to that park and swing. Used to take my girls to that park and play basketball. Recently, my grandson was in town, loves basketball. We went over there, started shooting hoops, and there were 4 or 5 people sitting at a picnic table, drinking, intoxicated, using foul language, bad words, made him feel uncomfortable, and he said, "Can we go, Grandpa?" Now, I understand, Mr. Tallyhughes, and that bottle of whiskey they were drinking could have come from the North Rapid. I get that. My point is, I go to the West Boulevard neighborhood associations. They're upset with what's happening in Wilson Park, and they're blaming Loaf and Jug. I hear from the Mount Rushmore group, they're upset with what's happening at Loaf and Jug. or in Wilson Park, they're blaming Loaf and Jug. I drive by there many times a day, and again, we're making assumptions. I would just ask that, can you folks provide a better environment? I buy wine, not at your place, but across the street, down the street. And I've been in there, and maybe you do the same. They've had patrons in there wanting to buy alcohol, and they refuse to sell them. They say no, out the door. If your establishment, we're all assuming is providing this, can you maybe not sell alcohol till 1? We can't make you do that, but maybe restrict the time frames. And I know your corporate office is in Pennsylvania, and I would just ask that you talk to your corporate office and ask them to be better citizens of Rapid City and try and improve the environment. And maybe your local shop can be better citizens of the neighborhood and help us all support this, so Wilson Park can be a place where I can take my grandson and not be afraid, and he wants to play basketball, and we can do that safely and not be run out by the people who we are assuming are buying alcohol in your establishment. Thank you.
All right, next we have Councilor Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just need to abstain from vote on this item.
All right. Mr. Stroman's abstaining. Now Councilor Roseland.
Thank you. I have been involved with the West Boulevard Neighborhood Association for 25 years, Mount Rushmore Road Group for 15 years, and there's been a lot of complaints, and maybe unfounded, that they believe that Loaf and Jug are the major part of the problem here in this area. And I did contact the president of the Mount Rushmore Road Group before, letting her know this was coming up, and if she wanted to bring people, businessmen around that's in that area to this council meeting, she could do that, and basically voice their disfavor of what's going on there. Councilman Pettigrew and myself met with Captain Becker and Lieutenant Holbrook last week, and they basically enlightened us that there were no violations in the last 7 years with your establishment, which kind of turned a new light on what was going on, because there were none. It just seemed like people's perception that there is, because of all the stuff that's going on around there. I did call the president of the Mount Rushmore Road Group after that and let her know that more than likely we will be voting to approve your license, and that if she still wanted to come down, she could, but then she said, I will just keep quiet, and hopefully that Loaf and Jug could probably be a little more aware of what's going on around their business. Because if you walk out the door, you can see what's going on. And maybe the alcohol is not coming from your business, but it's basically permeating the whole area. And like Councilman Pettigrew said, it's hard to bring kids. And I've heard other people in that area who will not let their kids go into Wilson Park, because it's basically we're as citizens entitled to use the park as a citizen. We pay taxes to use the park, yet when you go to the park and feel uncomfortable, because you got people drinking and creating noise and that sort of thing, and the kids are feeling uncomfortable, it doesn't work. So I just, hopefully that you will just keep an eye on what's going on, be a little more thoughtful of how your neighbors perceive your business. Thank you. I yield.
Okay. Next, Councilor Roberts.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to give kudos out to the business for not having a violation in 7 years. That's a pretty big thing if you look at a lot of the liquor stores and people that sell alcohol in Rapid City. You know, it's interesting, and I feel for you that you're getting a bad rep on this. Because if you go to the north block and a half, there's a liquor store. If you go to the south a block and a half, there's a liquor store. And I recently read a study that's out there about limiting hours of alcohol sales and how one municipality did it and changed their hours by a couple hours in the morning and a couple hours in the evening. And it didn't change things one bit. So, you know, it's a very difficult situation for you to be in because you're the ones that are getting blamed because you're on the edge of the park. Now, I don't disagree, or I don't agree that that's the best place in the world for a liquor store, but, you know, again, it wouldn't make any difference because of the fact that there are, you know, a couple more that are extremely close to that location. We've had this issue for many, many, many years. I've lived in North Rapid now when I've been in Rapid for the last 40 years. And, you know, we've got a liquor store up there about every 600 feet. So, and we've got a lot of problems up there. And I had a conversation the other day with one of my council members, and I said, you know, I'm glad that this is getting some attention because we've been complaining about this in North Rapid for 40 years. Now when it goes to West Boulevard, now it becomes more of an issue. So, you know, I feel for you. I feel for the neighborhood. I don't know what we can actually do about it. I can guarantee this, I will never step on your rights as business people because we absolutely have no right to pull a license that doesn't have any violations. So, but I think that also we do need to be more proactive on the ones that do have violations. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'm in support of renewing your license.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to renew. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Motion passes with 1 no from Pettigrew, 1 abstention from Stroman. Next, we'll go to item 27, approve the attached list of 2024 alcohol beverage license renewals, which have been vetted and approved by the Rapid City Police Department and the Rapid City Fire Department.
Move to approve. Second.
Got a motion by Lehman, a second by Roberts to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 28, this is a discussion on the Care Campus, Cornerstone, and Hope Center. We have some invited guests to give just some brief overviews of these services for the public at large, and we will begin with the Care Campus, and it looks like we have Sheriff Brian Mueller here today.
Good evening. Thank you for the invitation. I was asking a 45-minute presentation. It's getting a little bit late, so I'll probably keep it a little bit shorter than that. Maybe you said 4:25?
You misread the
4:25?
Yeah.
All right. I've got the 4 to 5 minute one version of it ready too. So I'm Sheriff Brian Mueller, Sheriff in Pennington County. And I know most of you in here. I've been in office here this is my first year, but I've been with Pennington County for 28 years. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about the Care Campus and specifically the parts of the Care Campus that fall underneath the Sheriff's Office. Underneath the Care Campus, we also have Pennington County Human Services, run by Director Barry Tice, who's a direct report to the County Commission. We have the Rapid City Police Department Quality of Life Unit that operates over there, that's under Chief Hedrick and his staff. And we have Pivot Point that's adjacent, that's a mental health facility that's adjacent, that's ran by Behavior Management Systems. But I'm specifically going to talk about the Care Campus components under the Sheriff's Office that a lot of you are familiar with. And the Care Campus at its current location has been there. We opened up down there on Kansas City Street in September of 2018. So we've been in existence down there for just over 5 years. But the Care Campus and Detox as a whole is a long-standing partnership between Rapid City and Pennington County that goes back close to 40 years. Started by Sheriff Don Holloway in the mid-1980s. It was previously ran by Regional Hospital and some private entities, and the sheriff took it over in partnership with the police department as jail diversion and a way to provide services to some of the most vulnerable people in our communities. And we've carried that on in partnership for close to 40 years now. Under the roof in the current facility right now, we have residential treatment, which is on the 2nd floor. We have 64 beds, and we provide short-term and long-term inpatient residential treatment. for substance abuse, and we also provide outpatient treatment and assessments through our counseling staff. A lot of you are familiar with our detox component of it that's on the first floor. Detox is 46 beds, males and females, and it provides services for individuals from 1 to 5 days, and they can self-refer. They can be brought in by law enforcement, or family members can actually fill a petition out for a loved one who's struggling with substance abuse, have them picked up and committed to that facility. If they're in detox, they get a variety of different services. They're meeting with a counselor at least once a day. They sleep on a bed. They get to shower. They get a change of clothes. They get 3 meals a day. So they get a variety of services at detox. And the next piece I'm going to talk about is Safe Solutions, and that's really something that we piloted from a program down in San Antonio. And we piloted that back in 2008 with a small portion up at the La Crosse Street facility when we were located up there. And currently, in the current location, we have 52 beds, roughly 15 female beds, and the rest are male beds in that facility. And that is really just a safe place for people who are under the influence to sleep in the community. So they come in, they can come in voluntarily, or law enforcement can bring them in to that service, and they literally get a mat on the floor. They don't get a change of clothes, they don't get a shower, and they don't get food while they're there. But people flock into that facility every day because it is a safe place to sleep, and a safer place to sleep than on the streets. We have had over 124,000 admissions to the care campus since it was opened down there a little over 5 years ago. And that's a lot, right? So we're averaging over 24,000 admissions a year specifically into detox, the safe beds, and crisis care, which is now the pivot point. And out of that 124,000, that's about 4,500 unique individuals that are receiving services in Rapid City. The total admissions into that facility, the 124,000, 72% of those total admissions are into the Safe Solutions portion. So a majority of the people coming through that facility are literally coming in for a safe place to sleep on a mat on the floor. Out of those, roughly 87,000 admissions into Safe Solutions over the last 5 years, 84% of those are self referrals, which means they show up, they push a buzzer, they ask to come in and receive services. So that's a lot of people, right? And law enforcement brings the other roughly 11% into that facility. A small percent comes from Monument Health, but law enforcement has brought in close to 10,000 people over the last 5 years, and a little over 5,000 of those admits into Safe Solutions from law enforcement are actual low-level diversion from low-level crimes in Rapid City. And that started off a little bit high. The first year we were at about 1,100 diversions, and slowly each year we've reduced that a little bit by little bit. Last year we had about 720 low-level law enforcement diversions into that facility. And we've done that for a couple of different reasons, but it's intentional in that repeat offenders, people that are committing crimes over and over again, we recognize them. We've worked closely together with the state's attorney's office, and it's not just a free pass for people that want to commit crime in the community. So people that are repeat offenders, we try to identify them and diversion is just not an option for those people that continue to commit crime after crime in our community. We've been working hard with the Rapid City Police Department and the state's attorney's office over this course of this last year to add some accountability into that low-level diversion piece at in Safe Solutions. The staff at the care campus are pretty amazing people. How many of you have had an opportunity to come down there and take a tour? Most of you had. And I greatly appreciate that. And I would encourage you, those of you who have not come down and taken a tour, to reach out to me or reach out to Barry Tice with Pennington County Human Services. We'd love to include you in on what we're doing, educate you on our ongoing partnership that we have between Rapid City and Pennington County. And you have a voice, come to the table and let it be heard. We definitely welcome that. The staff down there have a front row seat to life, and it's not all pretty. The the number of intakes that we have and the number of people that are coming through that facility and the impact we're having on those individuals is pretty amazing to get to see every day. So again, I would encourage you to come down and take a tour and continue to understand our partnership. And we meet every other week with 25 other partner agencies and talk about individuals in our community that we're all serving, and continue to look for new and innovative ways to provide that service and help give people a hand up, not a handout in the community. And with that, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sheriff. What I'll do is I'll have everybody give a presentation, then maybe the council might have some questions for you or the other presenters.
Thank you.
If that's all right, sir. Thank you. Miss Allison from Cornerstone Rescue Mission.
Not as tall as you. Thank you, Mayor Solomon and members of the City Council for inviting me to be here tonight. My name is Lisa Allison, and I'm the Executive Director for Cornerstone Rescue Mission. Cornerstone Rescue Mission has been serving this community for 42 years. And we evolved from a very simple soup kitchen in the basement of somebody's house to 5 sites in town. Our first site that most of you are aware of is Cornerstone Rescue Mission at 30 Main Street. And I'm going to go through the other ones, and I'll come back to that one. We also have the Women and Children's Home with 68 beds for single women or single moms with children. That's up by the hospital. Going up to Star Village, we have a 24-unit apartment building, 2 and 3 bedrooms, fully furnished with supportive housing, case management, classes, the whole 9 yards. And you have to be formerly homeless with a disability, and it could be an emotional or a physical disability to stay there. And it's low-income housing is what it's considered. We also have Cornerstone Thrift Store, which is over in the Gap, and the proceeds from the thrift store fund the Women and Children's Home. And then we also have at the Exit Realty building on Main Street our Supportive Services for Veterans Family, which is a statewide grant to take homeless veterans and either keep them from being evicted or get them out of treatment, out of sleeping in their car, out of jail, out of prison, and into their own home. And we serve approximately 240 veterans, and that is a statewide grant. So we have employees in Sioux Falls, Watertown, all over the state. But I'm here mainly to talk about the Cornerstone Rescue Mission, which is at 30 Main Street, because that's the one everybody seems to know and has the questions about. We are a nonprofit ministry, and we love to serve people who are in need of help. So we take people who want to come in. We have them fill out an intake packet. We do a triage to see if they need any medical assistance. They fill out a simple intake form, and if they need clothes, we get clothes for them. They are given a bunk. They're given a tour of the facility. We work with them. They all have case managers when they come in and they work, and we help them find work. We get them street clothes, we get them work clothes, whatever they need to be successful in the community. We have funds available to get them birth certificates, ID cards, and things like that so that they can go out and look for work. We really want to help them in probably the roughest time in their life and give them a safe place to land and just kind of recuperate. And some people have been eating out of garbage dumpsters for 7 days or 10 days. And so we want to make sure that they're healthy and just get them going. And, we usually keep them there for about 30 days at the beginning. And after they get working, they can stay longer, usually up to about 120 days. We help them find housing. We've got case managers that do that. We have grant funding to help pay for security deposits and rent. But, we become their family for many of them. Many of them have burned their bridges with family members. We live with them, essentially. And so it's really an honor to be able to serve them and to help them. And it's so exciting when they get a driver's license for the first time in 20 years. At the mission, we also have a prison reentry program. So we have people coming paroled out of the prison system. And we do the same things with them. We work with them they just need that little extra push or step up to be able to go back and live with their families. And we have the public soup kitchen, so anybody in the community, including yourselves, can come and eat lunch and dinner every day, free of charge, 365 days a week. As long as people are sober, that's basically our requirement. So we're here to love on people at the way that they are, the way that they walk in the door. Sometimes it's not real pretty. Sometimes it's really ugly. But we make sure that they get the mental health treatment that they need. We work with them and several agencies in town to ensure that they're med compliant and getting the mental health and medical treatment that they need. So each person is seen as an individual. Everybody's case plan is going to look a little bit different because they all come in at different stages. But we're there to help them. And we just want to just do what they can. It's so exciting. I can't tell you just the miracles that we get to see on a daily basis, to watch people become self-sufficient and go out and get their own homes and have a job and get their families and their children back. And we're just privileged to be a part of that. And I just want to thank you all, number one, for your service to this community, because I know it isn't easy. I've been watching a lot of the city council meetings over the years, and you guys have a tough load. But I also want to thank you for supporting us and what you do to help our people as they come in. We just love on them, and we just want to be there to help them. And thank you for helping us do that.
Thank you, Lisa. And if you can stand by, we might have questions in a little bit, but I also want to give an opportunity to the Hope Center to provide an update on those things. It looks like we have the president of the board, Lorraine Peterson.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Lorianne Peterson, and I serve as President of the Hope Center Board of Directors. We were asked to provide a brief presentation for you this evening to include recent decisions and actions regarding the Hope Center, level of services provided, and an update on the current status of the facility. In our conditional use permit narrative, we provided you with a detailed history of our organization, information about the services we provide and who we serve. Since not all of you had the time or interest to review that document before September 5th, let me review a few highlights. Putting God's love into action by enhancing dignity and hope as we build bridges out of poverty is the mission of the Hope Center. For over 12 years, the Hope Center has been a drop-in day center which offers unduplicated, unique, and crucial services in the community for those living in poverty and without homes. The primary objective of the Hope Center is to establish relationships with the disadvantaged in our community, provide an environment of respect and encouragement, and to be a constant in the lives of those who often lack stability and consistency. The Hope Center offers daily devotions every morning, along with opportunities for group prayer and individual prayer time. The Hope Center offers advocacy opportunities by walk-in or appointment with staff. We provide community resources and referrals and an in-depth mentoring program. Other services provided by the Hope Center include a mail center, phone message center, vital document storage, short and long-term guest storage, free laundry facilities, clothing and household items, a food pantry, quarterly medical clinic in partnership with the USD Sanford School of Medicine, monthly STD testing provided by the South Dakota Department of Health, monthly HIV testing provided by Volunteers of America, and job development. The Hope Center is a trusted source of support by being a safe and stable environment for our guests, as well as filling gaps in service for those in the community who are living in poverty or without homes. Some of our guests only visit the Hope Center for a few minutes sporadically, and others are on site from open to close every day. On a typical day, we provide services to at least 200 guests. In recent months, that number has often been over 300. The Hope Center is currently open Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Friday, 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. As was shared with you in October, due to circumstances outside of our control, the Hope Center is unable to continue to provide services after December 8th of 2023. The Hope Center will remain a nonprofit organization and seek a new vision, purpose, and future focus of ministry. Many things contributed to the difficult decision to close at the end of this calendar year. Since before COVID, the Hope Center board has been looking for a new location. We've explored different options, and none seemed to be quite right for our needs. When we found the building at 630 East Boulevard, it checked many of the boxes of what we were wanting in a new location. We have had many conversations with key leaders in our community and received overwhelming support. With guidance from Vicki Fisher and her amazing team, we followed the permit process exactly as required, and at every point along the way, when things needed to be approved or adjusted, we had support from planning and zoning, the previous mayor, and city council. Our permit application was approved unanimously by the Planning and Zoning Commission, appealed by a neighbor, and then all but one of you voted to uphold the appeal and deny our permit. In addition to your decision that day, some of you also made it very clear that the Hope Center was not appropriate to be in a neighborhood. We have also been told that the houseless members of our community are not wanted downtown because they are unsightly and bad for business. Not being appropriate for downtown or for residential areas, combined with the current real estate market in Rapid City, makes finding a new location for our ministry difficult. Towards the end of the summer, we had several meetings with the leadership at First United Methodist Church, who currently owns our building. They are experiencing some financial struggles in their congregation due to issues unrelated to the Hope Center, and the building we occupy is an asset that they could sell or rent out for much more than we pay in rent. They also informed us that they did not want us to continue to serve our guests next to their church due to issues they were experiencing with unhoused individuals on days that we are not open. For these reasons, they decided to no longer renew our lease after August 2024. Without a concrete plan beyond August, we were unable to receive some of the funding we rely on to support a large amount of our budget. After the strong opposition of city government, we also saw a decrease in donations. We explored various options for providing services in other locations, and there were no options that would not require a new permit or another organization to amend their current permit to work with us. Members of the community reached out to offer financial support to help us continue services throughout the winter. When our landlords were contacted to see if they would reconsider the 90-day notice we had given and allow us to remain through the winter, their reply was not just no, but hell no. We found our ministry in the middle of a perfect, terrible storm. So without the funding, resources, and location to keep providing services, and without the time to find a new location that would be acceptable for us to exist in, we made the incredibly difficult decision to close. After December 8th, many of our guests, many members of this community, will no longer have access to a safe and secure place to receive their mail, a place to receive phone messages and make necessary phone calls, a free laundry facility, storage for their vital documents such as identification, social security cards, birth certificates, medical and legal documents, and a place to go where they are seen, known, and valued. A place where someone would notice if they didn't show up for a couple days and would go looking for them. After December 8th, the staff, volunteers, and board members of the Hope Center will clean out the current building. Some resources will be stored, while many will be donated to partner organizations. The board will continue to meet regularly and continue to look for a new location and ways to continue to provide vital services to our guests. Melanie Tim will no longer serve in the position of executive director, but will become a member of the board of directors. On December 13th, we will begin meeting each Wednesday for devotions at a downtown church so that the community who currently gathers daily for devotions can continue to connect and maintain relationships with one another. In closing, we would like to remind you that not only your decisions affect our community, but your words do as well. We want you to know that it is hard for your constituents to trust you when you do not treat everyone the same. When you allow a city employee to provide services for the homeless out of a downtown church without the required permit, and then deny a permit to an organization who has followed all the rules and done everything right, your hypocrisy is evident. When you deny a permit because the people who would be served there are not appropriate to be in a neighborhood, and then allow those same people to gather for meals provided by other community members in the exact same neighborhood, it appears that you are not making thoughtful, educated decisions. We hope that going forward, you will strive to become better educated on the issues you are asked to make decisions about before the vote takes place, not after the fact, and that you will work to better represent all members of our community well. Some of you have made it clear that you think the downtown area will be better off without the Hope Center. You will now be able to put that judgment to the test. Thank you.
So that takes us to the end of the presentations. Thank you. So what I wanted to do, and the reason we have this on the agenda, is I want an opportunity for the Hope Center to give a status update. I think that's important for the service they provide. Also, the Care Campus and Cornerstone provide vital services to our community. And these are just a few of the services serving the homeless population in our community. And I wanted to make sure that we got this word out. And so the other thing I wanted to do was provide the council an opportunity to ask questions or get to know more about the services provided here, if you so wish. I think that's it's good. We've had a lot of input, and I just wanted to make sure we provided this opportunity for this discussion. So to kick us off, we will go to Councilor Bieberdorf.
Thank you. Ms. Allison, can I ask you a couple questions? So, number one, kudos to your organization. I think you have a great model for accountability. The question I get from serving on the Cornerstone Mission board for several years, I think there's a lot of confusion on this board and the community is the concept of Cornerstone Rescue Mission doesn't take care of vets, and the DOC contract that we gave all of our beds to the folks in the jail. So could you clarify those two? Then I have just one more question for you.
Used to be the old city hall, and so there's one big room in there that had 60 beds. That has been it since 1988 when we used that building. It was around 2004, 2005 that we built an addition to house the VA veterans. We had a grant and per diem program, and we put 60 beds in there, and that was that's where we house the veterans. But when we got the SSVF grant, we didn't really need to house all of those veterans because we could get them into housing. So we get a few, so we've made a little tiny section out of those 60 beds where we house veterans. We take care of the veterans, but they don't necessarily stay at the mission very long because we have so much money and a separate program to get them housed. So that vacant area where the veterans used to stay is now the Prison Reentry Program, which we call CTP, Community Transition Program. So none of the original beds have been taken by prisoners or anything like that, because I know that there's been cartoons in papers saying that if you're a prisoner, you can come in. If you're homeless, you can't. That is not true. In addition to that, I think people need to know, and you've probably heard me on TV saying, come on in when the weather is cold. We normally have, especially in blizzard conditions, we'll have sometimes 70 people sleeping on the floor. People need help. We're going to take them in. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that they're safe. And we partner really well with the sheriff's office and law enforcement and the fire department to ensure that they bring people in. We're open 24/7. Nobody here wants anybody freezing to death. I mean, I think that's our common goal. And with our partners, we can make sure that happens.
Excellent. And can you tell us the waiting list for women's and children's right now? How many people you have on your waiting list for that right now? And then just one question is, I know the city gave you, or it has budget for $200,000 for next year.
Mm-hmm.
What's your monthly operating expense?
Oh, gosh.
Ish.
Okay.
Ish.
So,
Those two questions, and I'm
okay.
done.
So the Women and Children's Home is up by the hospital. We have 68 beds there. I think last week we had about 102 people on the waiting list, and that is women. That is not children. Single mothers with children have always, probably for the last decade, been the highest demographic of homeless people. It continues to grow and grow. We do what we can. We can't take care of everybody, obviously, but we try and run people in as fast as we can. We try and make sure that they have a place to stay elsewhere. Sometimes we can't do that. We're limited, but that's where we're at with our waiting list. And the last question was about the budget. My budget for the year, this does not include the prison side, because that is a contract with the state of South Dakota, but for the soup kitchen and the emergency men's shelter is $1.9 million. So, yeah.
Anything else, Mr. Bieberdorf? No. Okay. Council members, any of you want to ask any questions? Rod Pettigrew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if I have any questions. If I could make a few comments, please.
Floor is yours.
When I got on the city council, I thought, this is a problem that we can solve. And asked my wife, I'm probably obsessive compulsive. If she buys a bag of Oreos, I eat them till they're gone. And I've become obsessed with this homeless issue. And the gentleman spoke earlier that this is bringing the community together, and I think he's right. Councilman Rosalind and I have made several coffee hours with some of our people in our ward, and this topic is at the top of the list. That's all people talk about. My business, I'm asked about this daily, And as Lisa knows, and if Melanie was here, she would know.
She's here.
Is Melanie here?
She
I'm
is.
sorry, I didn't see you, Melanie. I have visited the Hope Center several times. I have visited Lisa's mission several times. I've been to One Heart. I've been to the Care Campus. I've had several meetings with the mayor. My point is, I'm not bragging about what I'm doing. People are concerned. And this is not an easy task. This isn't we don't have a solution that we can open a box and it's magic. I've been fortunate enough to be able to do a lot of traveling. And I've been to Paris many times the last year because my daughter lives there. Paris has a homeless problem. I went from Paris to Berlin. Berlin has a bigger homeless problem than Paris with half the population. Been to New York City recently. They have a homeless problem. My daughter lives in Denver. I gave the mayor an article today about how Denver's trying to address their homeless problem. San Francisco spent $275 million last year on trying to create a correction of their homeless people. Rapid City spent $20 million last year on trying to improve the lives. My point in all this is I just want people to understand this council, we are not sitting idle. There are meetings going on behind the scenes. The mayor and his staff are digging and digging and digging. And I feel sometimes we're attacked because people feel we're not doing anything. We are doing things. And I would just ask that people be civil. After we had the first meeting, I don't know, a month ago, as I was climbing into my truck in the parking lot leaving, I don't know if the person was from the Hope Center or not, but I was told by someone in the parking lot, they know where I live. And you aren't going to get anything solved by making threats. And I would ask people who are here, you're activists, I really appreciate it. You're here every week, I got to give you credit. Tomorrow when you get up in the morning, let's put all that energy into trying to create a solution. I just feel right now we're constantly being attacked, and we need a solution, and it takes all of us putting on a positive attitude and working together and seeing how we can solve this solution. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, did you want to share? You were in the queue. There you go.
I definitely can't say it any better than what Rod just said it. It's interesting over the last month how we have been attacked, but the president of the Hope Center just came up and said that the people that are leasing to them right now have concerns about the people around there when they're not there, but I guess it's okay to move them into a residential neighborhood. That's the only reason I voted against it, was because they are my constituents in Ward 4. I did have a lot of people reach out to me that didn't want that in that location. Most of the people, I am guessing, that have came in on behalf of the Hope Center probably don't live in Ward 4, and they probably don't live in that neighborhood. So, I do know that a few years ago, and Melanie can tell you this, I worked with her trying to get a larger location for the Hope Center. At that time, we got a lot of blowback from one of the neighbors up there, and I think that's the biggest reason it didn't go forward, because it would have got very messy probably at that time, kind of like this has got. But at that time, I didn't see people coming forward and saying, well, we could have had that location. How come the city didn't work harder at that time to help us get into that location? I think I don't know what to say. We could have probably okayed this conditional use permit, but what would you have done? How would you have raised the money to put the millions of dollars you needed into the building to make it usable? I walked through that building today because it's for sale now. And I hadn't been into it for years, and the ceilings are falling in, the roof leaks everywhere, the floor is heaving, there's no water, the windows are broken. I mean, it would take months, if not years, to renovate that building to get in there. What would the Hope Center do in the meantime? You know, I know this is a need. I know that there are people out there that are probably willing to donate, and I really have a hard time believing that you're losing donations because we didn't allow this location. But again, even if we had allowed the location, where were you going to come up with the millions of dollars to renovate it when you don't have enough money to go on after next month? Let's be realistic with this. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'm going to jump in here. First, I do want to thank the Hope Center for their years of service to our community. I think that it was disappointing to hear that they were closing. I did not anticipate that was going to be the case. And I know that a lot of good people have done a lot of good work in there, and I do want to acknowledge that and thank them for the services. And unfortunately, these situations that we're seeing, not just locally, but around the world, where nonprofits might be struggling and having to merge and do services. We saw that recently with Front Porch Coalition and Journey On. And, you know, it's tough. And my hope is that another nonprofit will be able to absorb some of these services, such as the mail services and laundry services and those sorts of things. And I think, obviously, that's going to evolve over time. And my hope is that the other agencies serving folks can figure out some things. And I think that that's the thing we have to look at now is where do we go from here? I think it's unfortunate and sad the way this situation has played out. I know for myself, I was never against the Hope Center. I didn't have a vote in the matter at all, but I do value the services that they bring. But I also want to make sure today, what was important to me was that we were able to educate the community, at least on the services that are out there, especially the emergency overnight shelter. With the cold weather coming up, one of the questions is where will people go? And I wanted folks to know that at the Cornerstone Aether Care Campus, and I would love for the sheriff and Lisa to confirm this, that if they have certain amount of beds, but if it's a cold night, you make extra space. I think, Lisa, you might have addressed that,
Yes.
that you allow that. Not that it's ideal. It's not ideal, but it's better than the alternative. And Sheriff, would you mind in talking about the emergency sheltering services that the Care Campus provides, please?
Yes, and I would tell you that with all the beds that I listed earlier, very few, if any, days of the year is the Care Campus full. I mean, tonight we have detox beds available. We have beds and Safe Solutions available, both male and female. So very seldom are our beds all the way full. But those times when the temperatures really drop, our community comes together in a way like I've never seen before. We communicate, sometimes hourly with Lisa and her staff, and we take extra people in. We purposefully in this community have rules for which entity that you can go to. Sometimes we get criticized because you have to be under the influence or be drinking or using drugs to get into the Care Campus. And I think sometimes the Cornerstone gets criticized because they don't take people who have been drinking. But we do that on purpose so we're not duplicating services in our community. But I would tell you that when the weather gets inclement and people are really needing a place, all of us make concessions. We bring extra staff in, we bring extra mats in, and we make sure that people that want to get in and out of the cold have a place to come. And that's whether they ring our buzzer and ask to come in, or whether law enforcement or other entities find people in need and bring them to us, which is a pretty common occurrence.
Okay. And I think as a community, I think we have compassion, and we definitely need compassion. And we also have talked about accountability. You need accountability, and I think you need both. I think accountability without compassion is heartless, and compassion without accountability is enabling. I don't think that's what anybody wants. I think we want to make sure that there's a place for people to go. I want to make sure the community is not confused that there is not a place to go if you're cold, because that message getting out is dangerous. In fact, on those cold nights, there is a place to go. That is important. I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm not saying that we're doing everything perfect as a community. You know, in the city government's case, we aren't going to provide all of those services, but we're trying, you know, to be supportive of the agencies doing those services. I will say the council here for the 2024 budget allocated over $2 million, which is more than any other council has ever allocated towards crisis services. That includes Volunteers of America, that includes Cornerstone, Care Campus, not One Heart, they're not on that list actually, but One Heart's part of that, you know, conversation as well. But there's a lot of folks working in that space. What I think we have to do is figure out how to better work together. One of my observations is there's a lot of silos in this space, and I think we do have to work better together as a community for the sake of those who need the services. Because at the end of the day, when people are facing tough times, you want to help them get out of that situation. I love the Hope Center's on their sign that said "Building Bridges Out of Poverty," something like that. I think that's a good aim, you know. And when we set a goal that we want to reduce homelessness, we would prefer that not be an option for people, that they instead would have a place to go. If they're not able to take care of themselves, then hopefully they have loved ones, friends and family who can be there for them. And if that's not an option, I hope that there's temporary shelters in a community that they can stay in until they get back on their feet. If they're struggling with addiction, then we need to have services and treatment available for them. If they're struggling with mental health, then we need rehabilitation services for them. And of course, for those who break the law, especially the repeat offenders, then jail is going to be an option. Those are the roads. As a community, we have to assess all of those routes and see how are we doing. And it's in some ways we're doing well, maybe in other ways there's room for improvement. And if we take anything away from this entire conversation that we've had, is that we know there's room for improvement and then we can better work together. And that's my hope for this. And the reason we put this on this agenda today was to make sure we at least got the opportunity to hear about the services out there. Also wanted to provide the Hope Center the respect to share where they're at right now rather than the hearsay, and I appreciated hearing that. I want you to know the city government's not against you. Vicki Fisher works for the city, and you praised her. The police department and fire department have worked very hard with these agencies. In fact, they're often the ones that are helping get people on a cold night to where they need to go. So in that sense, we're not against homeless people. We just don't want them in that situation. I don't want them sleeping in public. It's not good for them. People die. I just heard from Roberta tonight about a friend who passed out in Sioux Park and died. That's not a story I want to hear. And that was with all of the services that are available. Every year, people pass away, even with all of the services and the millions of dollars that we have going towards them. We don't want that for people. That's really the goal. None of us want that. So we're a community that's saying we want to do something about it. We differ on our approaches. You know, I for one think the city government should kind of stay out of it more and more. However, we are providing a good chunk of funding. This council provided a good chunk of funding. And that's because we understand the importance of the emergency services. And hopefully people can get back on their feet and get the help that we need. We know addiction is a real issue. Mental health is a real issue. We know it's tough times right now with the economy, the state of housing, all of it's true. So the fact is, just to have this opportunity to talk briefly about it, and really wanted to make sure I gave the council an opportunity to share. Getting to know them, I haven't we've only been at this for several months now together on this journey. I know some of them better than others, but they're not as heartless as people make them out to be. One thing I tried to say is their denial of the permit weren't saying no to the Hope Center as a mission, as a ministry. I believe, as Mr. Roberts pointed out, it was a location situation, and my thought was, okay, now what? Which is my forward thinking, but it turns out there wasn't going to be a now what for the Hope Center. So now we have to figure out where we go from here. And if it was easy, it'd already be done. But I do have Mr. Maher in the queue. I'll give you the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention Sheriff Mueller brought up this meeting that happens every 2 weeks between 25 nonprofits and service providers. And they meet at the CARE campus. And I just, spending time at the CARE campus, I realized, sometimes we say, well, we talk about silos, but all these groups come together every 2 weeks and talk about what's going on in the community. So there's great communication between our nonprofits and our service providers, and I'm appreciative of the CARE campus for providing that space for that meeting every 2 weeks. Thank you.
And that's a plus of all this. And would you add the plus to this conversation is we're working better together, and we're starting to get more people at the table. Any of you or the Hope Center leadership wish to make any final remarks to the council or to the public?
I just really appreciate all of you that are working on this very difficult subject together with our community. And that's going to take everybody at the table. Giving everybody in our community a voice, that's something that we're actively working on, that plan. And I appreciate you letting me come in and say a few words today. Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
I just want to thank you too for inviting me, and if anybody is interested in a tour, we would love to give you one. I had the honor of giving Rod Pettigrew and Pat Roseland and Lindsay Seacrest a tour a few weeks ago, and I think it really opened up their eyes, and I would be willing to do that for anybody in the room. We're always happy to share what we do, and we do work really well together. We've been around for 42 years working with all of the other agencies, but our primary ones are the fire department and the police department and the sheriff's office. And it's a great relationship. And thank you all again for supporting Cornerstone and for the work that you do. It's not easy.
And Hope Center leadership, Marianne, did you want to make any final remarks? Well, I want to thank you, Hope Center, for all your years of service, and to the CARE campus and Cornerstone, and really all the agencies and all the individuals serving in this space. We do appreciate you. There's work to be done, and we as Rapid City, we do care, and we want to do it the right way. So I wanted to put that on the agenda for discussion. I hope, Council, if you don't have anything else, do we have a recommendation to acknowledge this discussion?
Move to acknowledge.
Second. Got a recommendation, or motion by Roberts to acknowledge, second by Pettigrew. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go to public hearing items 29 through 35, and we'll open public comments for items 29 through 35. I do not have any speaker request forms for those, so we will close public hearing items 29 through 35 and go to consent items, public hearing items 29 through 33. Would the council wish to remove any items from the agenda?
Second.
Got a motion by Lehman, second by Stroman to approve items 29 through 33. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to non-consent public hearing items 34 through 35. Item 34, a second reading for ordinance number 6593, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Long Branch Civil Engineering, Inc. for American Storage, LLC, for a rezoning request from General Commercial District to Light Industrial District for property generally described as being located northwest of the intersection of Century Road and East North Street.
Move to approve.
Motion by Roberts, second by Lehman to approve. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 35, a second reading of ordinance number 6594, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by TUI Design Group for Rob Popple for a rezoning request from No Use District to Low Density Residential District 1 for property generally described as being located east of Reservoir Road, north of Bridge Drive. And this is the recommendations to approve in conjunction with 23AN004. Got a motion by Roseland and a second by Maher. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have an executive session. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Motion by Roberts and a second by Lehman to go into executive session. We're in executive session.